Hello everybody, Dave Neal, Bachelor Nation News. In today's video, we're going to discuss the tears on TikTok from Jasmine, former Bachelor contestant, crying on TikTok. Some people said, isn't this weird? Isn't it performative? What's she doing? Of course, it's a very sad story. She broke up with her fiance and was mourning the loss while on camera. And then we had some people like Ash Talks Batch, who said, hey, hold on a second. Just because she's not white doesn't mean she can't share her emotions. And then provides the receipts of all the other former white contestants that have done the same thing that didn't receive the same backlash. So we're going to discuss this. Now, as we do when we discuss sensitive topics, we ask that you leave some room for grace and empathy in the comment section. Take your shoes off and try to put your feet in someone else's shoes, right? Try to understand what they might be going through. Excuse me. Now, we'll get into all that. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at DNeals. Just posted this reel, Keys to Building Wealth online in 2022. It's nothing crazy. But I talk about don't renting out your time, building equity. Don't rent out your time, build equity. And then on the internet, success comes when you can somehow combine, entertainment and or information, a little bit of both, or, one, really, really well. How to know your niche, invest in yourself, set zero limitations, all that jazz. If there's anything you want to try to accomplish online and you don't know really how to do it, leave a comment. I'll be happy to brainstorm with you. I'm all about sharing that love. And of course, I haven't built an incredible amount of wealth, but I've been lucky enough to have you guys accompany me along on the journey. So I made this video a couple days ago. Broken engagement announcement, oversharing, or new social media norm. Now, obviously, there was a lot of comments regarding how bizarre it is to my generation. I'm 36, turning 45 or 22, depending on how good the lighting is. And I don't wear white eyeliner. It's the LED lights. I got a thing. You know what I mean? All right. The key to success, more lights. I want to grow my company. All right. Get some more power in there. Back it all in. Come on. So I may be off on this, but it's jarring to see someone crying. And like I said in my last video, it's one thing if you're like doing some sort of authentic like gender reveal party and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a baby girl, and you start crying, versus another being like, oh shoot, I just got broken up with. Let's get this lighting on. Anyway, so that's where we're at. And again, not to say it can't be one or the other, right? So I'm gonna share with you what Ash had to say from Ash Talks Batch. And by the way, go follow her. Great account, and good to hear what she has to say about this. But first, let's just kind of go over grieving the loss of someone who's still alive is something I don't wish on my greatest enemy. So we have this, which is a montage of her crying in different sort of situations, looking at the camera. Do you look at the camera or do you look at yourself? Which one are you doing? There she is crying in front of the dog. Of course, very sad, broke up, mourning the loss of her engagement. The guy's still alive. Some people were like, did he die? No, the relationship did. There she is with Ritz crackers, doing her thing. Very beautiful lady, putting makeup on. By the way, would be a great opportunity for one of those mascara, anti-run, waterproof mascaras. Oh my gosh, my relationship's died, but my eyelashes don't have to. Use my code, buy it on Shein. I don't know. Ask Madison Pruitt. All right, callbacks. So she has that one, and then she had another one. Which, is it this one right here? Did I just play this one? Several different crying ones, right? Here's the first one, right?
Okay, guys. So I know that you guys have noticed that I have not been really on here.
So these are the two, right? One that's a full, and it's important to know the difference, right? One that's a full shot of her explaining her love story. And you know what? As an influencer, she's not entitled or doesn't have to share this, but she makes her money, talking about the wedding planning and this and that. She's going to want to let her audience know what's up. It's good for her brand to let them know what's up, and maybe it's good for her as well. I don't really know. So anyway, that all happened, and people were saying, hey, oh my gosh, this is strange. But less people said this video is strange, and more people said this video was strange. Now this one got a lot more because this one involved multiple editing, different scenes. It involved music. It was a production, So Ash says this: I'm seeing some comments about her sincerity because she posted this, but I admire her vulnerability. Why does this audience have such a problem for holding space for women of color, expressing emotions and showing vulnerability? Now we're going to listen to this. Absolutely. We're going to listen to this. I just want, when we discuss something, we have to be very specific with what we're talking about here. It appears that Ash Talks Batch, sorry, I always want to say back. Ash Talks Batch is saying, why can't we let her share her emotions? Which I think is perfectly fine. I think people just are saying it's the edited music and all of that. But again, hey, do whatever you want. Absolutely. But that's specific to know that there's the two different ones. That's why I wanted to let you guys know. Absolutely. So now she provides the receipts, which is great. This is fantastic. Caitlin Bristow. I love Caitlin Bristow, but everyone will rally around posts like this for women like her. How many women of color are allowed to lift the veil and express emotions other than happiness? I personally can't, I don't have the sort of equity with these racial conversations to know this. What I'm trying to say is that I can't deny someone's experience that it's harder to be taken seriously. As we know, the trope with black women is that that they get angry. Of course, we saw this with Rachel Lindsay, where she was accused of like getting angry, and it's like, well, can't she feel her feelings and just talk without being called the angry black lady? Now that's a trope that exists, so it's important to label it, call it out, put a stamp. That's what it is. Okay, that exists out there, and we obviously know, like, just looking at gender, when a guy goes, oh man, this lady's acting crazy. Is she? Or is she just not accepting the status quo? And, and of course, why do women get called bitches when men get called assertive? Okay, so that exists. You got to put a label on it. It exists out there. There's obviously a communication issue in a way we label things. And maybe it's harder for a predominantly white audience to empathize with the tears of someone who doesn't look like them. Now, that doesn't make it right, but that might be what it is, right? We don't know for sure. Everyone's different. Some people don't understand their misogyny. Some people don't understand their maybe bias that exists, where they're like not realizing that they are, or maybe Jasmine's just a successful influencer, so people can't take her seriously because it's like, oh boy, eye roll. You've got everything. Which should never dismiss someone's feelings. You should never dismiss someone's feelings because they are either rich or famous or whatever they are. It's like no amount of poverty will make somebody rich. No amount of sickness will make someone healthy. And no amount of thinking that wealth is going to make someone not just feel their emotions. So Ash Talks Batch says, y'all know we can name many Bachelor Nation favorites who have gained notoriety for crying, and yet not one of them are women of color. I haven't forgotten the people who were dismissive of Michelle Young's tears when she was upset about not feeling seen when she was the lead. I'm over this willfully ignorant audience who will go out of their way to deny race plays a factor in these situations, whose tears are valid, whose tears are dismissed, whose tears are weaponized. Very strong stuff, folks. So before you want to comment and prove Ash right, she's got a great point here. That we use our willful ignorance. I'm going to make a video about Demi coming out and talking about her autism. We use our willful ignorance when we can't put ourselves in someone else's shoes. If it's a neurodivergent issue, we can't understand what someone with ADHD, maybe severe ADHD, goes through if we do not have ADHD. We just can't really understand that. And we can't understand what it's like to be black in America if you are not. You can't understand what it's like to be so many different things if you are not. Understanding you can't understand is the biggest step you can make to living a life that's way, I would say, more therapeutic. To say, look, everyone's trying the best with the information they have. Everyone's got different issues. And just because your issues aren't mine doesn't mean those ones aren't valid. And this is a greater point above the Jasmine crying video. And it's important for people like Ash Talks Batch and other accounts to discuss these ideas, to say, hey, look, collectively, a lot of people can't understand this issue because they don't deal with that issue. They can only see it from the outside looking in. So let me explain it to you. And when a lot of people are explained an issue, they go, no, that's not the case. I was on the phone with my mom just an hour ago talking about something. My brother's in college, and my mom was being like, boy, student loans. I was like, you're telling me, I know, I got a young brother, he's 18. I go, you're telling me student loans, I paid more interest of my education than I actually paid for my education. You understand? And I was, I'm always railing. My mom doesn't understand how hard it is to buy a home in today's world because she bought a home for $80,000 in the 90s, and then it became worth $750,000. My sister bought a home for $200,000, and now it's worth $700,000 in a 4-year span. You can't save enough to catch up to the rising home rates, and people don't understand that if they're either a boomer or of a generation that benefited from getting in at a time when you could work at Sears and support your whole family on a 40-hour work week, and that just doesn't exist now. So it's easier. So in society, and again, pardon my sort of difficulties to sort of explain this all, but in society, the easy route, the route of least resistance, the way the lightning strikes the ground as quickly and as efficiently as possible, isn't the right answer. The right answer is not saying, well, if racism doesn't play a factor because it doesn't affect me. No shit, it doesn't affect you. Neither does issues women have. That doesn't affect me. I do have issues that do affect me that others might understand, but it's different and it's not my time or place, and this isn't the video to talk about it. You know, pull out the videos where I complain about how hard I have it. You're not going to find too many. I'll work with my own advantages and disadvantages and figure that all out on my own time. But the idea that, because someone might not look like us, we don't think that they've got problems, that's a tough one. And empathy is a really hard one. It's hard to cross boundaries with empathy because empathy is the easiest in the path of least resistance when it's someone who looks and talks just like us. How often? Well, if they didn't wear those clothes or if they talked nicer to cops, no. Are you kidding me? But this exists. And those arguments you just reject. The season 17 lead, Katie Thurston, took up 12 days of social media, which is completely fine. And there's nothing wrong with someone being dramatic or whatever on their page. But don't hold Jasmine accountable if she's crying or But Jasmine posting a video of herself crying is attention seeking. Oh, okay. So I just love this. I love the different paths that Ashley took, Ash Talks Batch took to sort of prosecute her point here. My only thing is, and again, the audience of Bachelor is so diverse, just like our country is, that it exists from a far left to a far right and a lot of places in between. It's a giant spectrum of people that have varying in differencing of opinions on things. My only thought would be, to Ash Talks Batch, is, are we talking about people commenting on this video, which is essentially like a curated, evolved, edited, soundtracked video, versus the one where she breaks down sharing her emotions? But don't get me wrong. I'm sure what she says applies to the other video as well. And again, maybe we just live in a time where we think differently about these things. I wanted to share, so there was a trend. TikTok users respond to the TikTok crying trend. This is not a trend, this is a threat. So apparently there's a trend, and this is psychotic, right? We saw this with maybe Shanae and some others. There's a trend on TikTok where you make yourself cry and then you snap your fingers and then you're not crying anymore. And the idea is just chilling. A chilling TikTok trend sees white women, and again, this is different from the issue we just saw. A TikTok trend sees white women uploading short clips of themselves crying. For the first few minutes of the video, the TikTokers pretend to be in a state of emotional distress, only stop crying at the snap of a finger. And then some people posted that white female tears TikTok thing is just white women telling on themselves. White female tears have gotten countless black people murdered, and they're just telling on themselves thinking it's a fun trend. Like, no, Ashley, you're showing how white women are natural manipulators. Yikes. Yeah, it's a weird trend. It's probably, it's kind of a side street from the conversation that we have right here. Because the question I was originally asking is, why do people cry on TikTok? Like, is it as therapeutic to cry knowing the camera's on you versus to cry otherwise? Somebody called in. I don't have the voicemail ready to go right now. Somebody called in and said, hey, I videotaped, I sound old saying videotaped. I videoed myself crying going through a divorce, like for a journalistic purposes. I then edited it and shared it together. But then the person did say they wanted to make the ex jealous, or feel bad, I should say. So we've all got different motivations for what we do. Here is the Institute of Human Anatomy, which is a TikTok that I love, explaining what is in the liquid of tears. I just wanted to share this with you guys.
Your tears are made of a ton of different substances. It's not as though it's made of one particular thing like water. You get things like hormones, electrolytes, mucus, fat, proteins. There's so many different things.
There are fat in tears. So when you, this is God's way of saying when you cry after a breakup, you're going to get skinnier and then look sexier for someone else. I get it. Oh God, you're funny.
All inside of your tears. But the majority of those substances come from one spot, and that's going to be the lacrimal gland, which is going to be about right here on the eye. And that lacrimal gland is going to secrete all the different substances it does onto the surface of the eye, where it'll mix with fat and mucus, and then you'll blink and you'll smear it across the surface of your eye, and then it'll get over to the medial side.
Right there, right? over on the medial side. Just using smart words.
Where it'll enter some ducts that'll then drain into your nasal cavity and then into your throat.
Snots.
Unless, of course, you're crying because you're hyper emotional and you make too many tears and then it just pools out of here and then drips down your face so everyone can see.
Tears are a powerful thing. How they're used and shared is something I think in today's world in 2022, we're kind of coming to terms with airing that out there. And are we going to be okay to let others like authentically share how they feel? But also, can we call it out if we think it's disingenuous too? Those are the questions we ask. Respectfully leave a comment. Love to know what you guys think. We'll talk to y'all in a little bit. Bye now.